My name is Sarah Perez, and I thought I'd found my forever in a man who promised me the world, until he took it all back in a single breath. It was a rainy afternoon in Seattle, the kind where the city hums with the clink of coffee cups and the patter of umbrellas. I stepped into the Brewhaven, a trendy cafe downtown, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and cinnamon pastries. I was late, my scrubs still creased from a long shift at Harborview Medical Center, but I was smiling, thinking of Ethan Caldwell, my fiancé, waiting at our usual corner table. I didn't even get to sit down. Ethan looked up from his latte, his hazel eyes cold, like a stranger's. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, his voice flat, like he'd practiced it. My stomach twisted. I slid into the chair, clutching my bag, and forced a laugh. "What? Is this about the caterer messing up the menu again?" He didn't smile. Instead, he reached into his jacket and set a small velvet box on the table, not to give, but to take something back. "I can't marry you," he said. 7 words, sharp and final, like a door slamming shut. I froze, my breath caught somewhere between shock and shame. "What?" I whispered. He leaned back as if unburdened. "We're moving in different directions, Sarah. I've made connections, important ones. Claire Prescott and I, we're aligned in ways I didn't see before. Claire Prescott, daughter of Richard Prescott, the venture capitalist who owned half of Seattle's tech scene." My heart pounded. "You're leaving me for her?" I asked, voice breaking. "It's not like that," he lied, but his eyes told the truth. "You deserve someone simpler." Then, as if he hadn't shattered me enough, he added, "The ring, it's a family heirloom. My grandmother would want it back." My hands shook as I slipped it off, placing it between us. "Thank you for your honesty," I said, barely audible, and walked out, past the curious stairs, into the rain. Only when I turned onto Pike Street did the tears come, hot and unstoppable, washing away the life I thought I'd have. I couldn't go back to the apartment Ethan and I shared in Capitol Hill. The thought of facing the half-packed boxes, the wedding dress hanging like a ghost in the closet, was too much. I wandered Seattle's wet streets, my phone buzzing with concerned texts from coworkers I couldn't bear to answer. When I finally arrived, my worst fear was waiting. My belongings, neatly packed in labeled suitcases, sat by the door like I was a package marked "Return to Sender." Ethan hadn't done it, too meticulous for him. It had to be his mother, her way of erasing me from her son's perfect life. I sank to the floor, the cold tile biting through my jeans. My old studio lease in Tacoma had ended weeks ago, given to a grad student. Every dollar I'd saved, $12,000, had gone to the wedding, leaving me with $87 in my account and 6 days until payday. I felt like I was 13 again, back in foster care, waiting for someone to decide my worth. Desperate, I did the one thing I hadn't done in over a year. I called Linda Hayes, my foster mom. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice a warm anchor. "Sarah, honey, I was just thinking about those boots we saw at the mall." I tried to speak, but a sob broke free instead. That was enough. An hour later, I was on her faded plaid couch in Tacoma, clutching peppermint tea as she tucked a quilt over me. "Stay as long as you need," she said, her hand smoothing my hair like she did when I was a scared kid. "You've got nothing to prove." That night, sleep wouldn't come. I lay on her pull-out bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying Ethan's words. Had I been a placeholder, someone to fill the space until Claire Prescott's glittering world came along? By morning, the pain had hardened into shame. At 28, I was supposed to be starting a family, a new chapter. Instead, I was homeless, heartbroken, and back where I'd started, with nothing but a duffel bag and a nursing license to my name. I showered, dressed, and headed to the hospital, determined to keep my pieces together, even if they were held by nothing more than grit. Back at Harborview, I moved through my shifts like a ghost. Nurses smiled, oblivious, asking about wedding plans, flowers, venues, the works. I forced smiles, nodding, lying through my teeth. "Oh, we're just tweaking the guest list." Telling the truth felt like it would split me open, exposing the raw mess underneath. My scrubs felt heavier each day, the hospital's fluorescent lights a reminder of the life I was stuck in. Seattle wasn't big enough to escape Ethan and Claire's new life. their faces probably plastered across some tech gala across town. I needed out. 3 days dragged by, each one a battle to keep my heart from unraveling. I told coworkers the wedding was postponed, that Ethan had a business trip. Lies piled up, heavy as the grief I carried. On the third day, while checking in room 12, Rachel, our no-nonsense charge nurse, poked her head in. "Sarah, you still dreaming of a way out of this grind?" I blinked, confused. "What?" She pulled me into the hallway, voice low. "You know Tara from Ortho? She took a private nursing gig last month, live-in, big money, but bailed last week. Couldn't handle the client." I frowned. "Who's the client?" Rachel smirked. "Some tech hotshot, Nathan Cole. Paralyzed after a climbing accident. Lives in a ridiculous mansion in Bellevue. Total nightmare, apparently." My pulse quickened. "What's the pay?" She raised an eyebrow. "Triple our salary. Private suite, meals included, no night shifts. Just one patient. But he's scared off every nurse in 2 weeks flat." I hesitated. I was a hospital nurse, not a live-in caregiver. But the word escape hit me like a lifeline. I'd spent my childhood bouncing between foster homes, learning to survive by seizing chances. This felt like one. "Got a contact?" I asked. Rachel handed me a card with elegant cursive, Helen Voss, estate manager, and a number. "Good luck," she said, half laughing. "You'll need it." That night, I stood in Linda's backyard, the Puget Sound breeze sharp against my face, and dialed the number. My hands shook, but I was done letting fear hold me back. I barely slept before the call with Helen Voss. Her voice was crisp, like she was used to giving orders. "Can you interview tomorrow at 9 a.m.? she asked. I stammered, yes, and she sent an address in Bellevue. By 4 a.m., I was on a shuttle from Tacoma to Seattle, then a cab winding through Bellevue's lush hills. The world outside blurred, suburban sprawl giving way to estates that looked like they belonged in magazines. When we reached Nathan Cole's mansion, my breath caught. It was all glass and steel, perched on a hillside like it had grown from the earth itself, a fortress of wealth and solitude. The black gate slid open, and I stepped out, clutching my resume. Helen Voss met me at the door, a woman in her 60s with a severe bun and a navy suit that screamed precision. Her eyes scanned me like I was a chart she needed to memorize. "You're early," she said, not smiling. "I didn't want to be late," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. She nodded. "Follow me." The interview was like a surgical procedure, quick, precise, no warmth. Helen skimmed my resume, asked about my ICU experience, my ability to handle stress, my discretion. "Nathan Cole is complex," she said, her tone warning. "Round-the-clock care, 2 days off a month, no visitors. Medical expertise is critical. Can you handle that?" I thought of Ethan's betrayal, the suitcases by the door, the ache of starting over. "Yes," I said, meeting her gaze. She slid a contract across the table. "The position is yours. Salary is $12,000 a month, plus bonuses based on progress. You'll live adjacent to Mr. Cole's suite. Meals and lodging included. Review this by tomorrow." I gripped the chair to keep from gasping. It was more than triple my hospital pay, a lifeline I couldn't refuse. "I'll start tomorrow," I said, signing without hesitation. Helen's eyes softened, just a fraction. "Be ready," she said. "He's not what you expect." As I left, the mansion's sleek lines and silent halls loomed around me, both a promise and a warning. I had no plan, just a duffel bag and a heart still bleeding, but I was here, and that was enough for now. The next morning, I stood outside Nathan Cole's suite, contract in hand, heart hammering like I was about to walk into an exam I hadn't studied for. The hallway was all polished wood and muted light, the kind of quiet that swallowed sound. Helen Voss stood beside me, clipboard clutched like a shield. "You're sure about this?" she asked, her voice low, like she was giving me one last out. I swallowed hard. "I signed the contract." She raised an eyebrow. "That's not what I asked." I nodded. "Yes." She knocked twice, sharp, and opened the door without waiting. The room was massive, more like a gallery than a bedroom, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the misty Bellevue hills, sunlight spilling over hardwood floors. It felt cold, like a space built for someone who didn't want to be seen. Nathan was by the window in a sleek wheelchair, his back to us, fingers tapping the armrest. "Mr. Cole," Helen said, her tone clipped, "your new nurse, Sarah Perez." He didn't turn at first, just kept tapping, like he was counting down to something. Then he pivoted, and I froze. I'd expected someone older, frail maybe, but Nathan Cole was neither. Mid-30s, tall, even-seated, with dark hair and a jaw sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes, green and piercing, sized me up like I'd already failed some test. "So," he said, voice low, edged with venom, "they sent another one." I opened my mouth, but he cut me off. "What's the bet, Helen?" "A week?" 10 days. Helen didn't flinch. "I'll leave you to get acquainted," she said, and left, the door clicking shut like a trap. Silence stretched heavy. "I'm not here to bet," I said finally. "I'm here to do my job." He rolled closer, studying me like I was a puzzle he didn't care to solve. "And what's that? Handing out pills?" Holding my hand while I failed to walk. His smirk dared me to crack. "I'm here to help you live," I said, holding his gaze. "Not to pity you." His eyes narrowed, but he didn't reply. Something told me I'd just passed the first test, whether he admitted it or not. The first day with Nathan was like walking a tightrope. He was all sharp edges, tossing barbs to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. I'd dealt with patients tougher than him, veterans cursing through pain, kids fighting needles. Nathan Cole wasn't going to break me. I administered his meds, reviewed his therapy plan, and ignored his jabs about nurses who think they're heroes. By evening, he was quiet, watching me adjust his bed with those piercing eyes, like he was waiting for me to slip. That night, a storm rolled over Bellevue, wind rattling the mansion's windows. I couldn't sleep, the howl outside echoing the chaos in my head. Ethan's voice, Claire's name, the ring I'd given back. Around 1 a.m., I noticed a light from the West Wing gym, a place Nathan's staff rarely entered. I told myself it was nothing, maybe a forgotten switch, but something pulled me out of bed. I slipped on a sweater and crept down the hall, the mansion's silence pressing against me. I pushed the gym door open just a crack. Inside, Nathan was gripping parallel bars, his arms trembling, sweat beading on his forehead. His legs, unsteady but moving, took slow, agonizing steps. My breath caught. He was walking, or trying to, alone, in secret. The door creaked, and his head snapped toward me, eyes blazing. "What the hell are you doing?" he snarled. "I heard something," I said, stepping inside. "I thought you needed help." His jaw clenched, knuckles white on the bars. "Get out, Sarah. Now." I didn't move. Not because I was stubborn, but because I saw it, the fire in him, the refusal to quit. "Why hide this?" I asked softly. "You're making progress." He laughed, bitter. "Progress? The second people see this, they expect miracles. Then, when I can't deliver, they leave." His voice cracked, just enough to betray the hurt. I stepped closer. "I'm not telling anyone. But if you let me help, we can do this right. You don't have to be alone." He stared, furious, then exhausted. "Fine," he muttered. "But no one knows. And you follow my lead." I nodded. Agreed. Something shifted between us, not trust yet, but a start. Our secret sessions began the next morning, before dawn broke over Bellevue's hills. Nathan and I met in the gym, the mansion still asleep, the air sharp with the scent of polished wood and sweat. Each step he took was a battle, legs trembling, hands gripping the bars like they were the only thing keeping him upright. I didn't cheer or pity. I steadied him, adjusted his posture, and tracked his vitals. His pain was raw, but so was his grit, and I respected that more than I could say. Days passed, and a quiet rhythm formed. I'd catch him watching me sometimes, like he was trying to figure out why I hadn't quit. One evening, as I prepped his meds, he spoke, voice low. "You're not like the others. Why'd you take this job?" I hesitated, Ethan's betrayal flashing in my mind. "Because I know what it's like to be thrown away," I said. "And I'm done letting that define me." His eyes softened for a split second, then he turned away. "Don't get attached," he said. "I don't do friends." I smirked. "Good. I don't do fairy tales." Then it happened. I was restocking the meds cabinet in my room when I heard a voice, smooth, confident, unfamiliar, coming from the main hall. Curious, I followed it to the west sitting room. There, sprawled on a leather couch, was a man in his 40s, Rolex glinting, sipping bourbon like it was noon. Nathan sat across from him, his smile tight. "You look like hell," the man said, laughing. "Good to see you too, Marcus," Nathan replied. Marcus Reed, Nathan's business partner, ran Caretaker after the accident. Something about him, his slick charm, the way his eyes flicked over Nathan like he was sizing up a deal, made my skin crawl. I entered with a tray of water, trying to blend into the background. Marcus's gaze landed on me, slow and appraising. "This the new nurse?" he asked, smirking. "Sarah Perez," I said coolly. "Better than the last ones?" Nathan's voice cut in, sharp. "She's here to do her job, not entertain you." I set the tray down, my heart racing. Marcus's laugh lingered, but it was his next words that stopped me cold. "Prescott Ventures is ready to move." The name Prescott hit me like a punch. Marcus leaned closer to Nathan, his voice low but clear. "Richard Prescott's ready to fund the merger. We just need the control package signed over to the shell company. Olivia's got the board lined up." My pulse roared. Olivia Prescott, Claire's sister, working for their father's venture capital empire. Nathan stared out the window, his knuckles white on the armrest. "I'll review the papers," he said, voice flat. Marcus pressed, "We're running out of time, Nate. This is the play." I slipped out before they noticed, my mind racing. Back in my room, I shut the door, heart pounding. Prescott Ventures. Claire. Olivia. Was this tied to Ethan's betrayal? Had I been hired because I was disposable, someone no one would suspect? The coincidence felt too sharp, like a blade hidden in plain sight. That night, during Nathan's stretches, I couldn't hold it in. "I overheard Marcus today," I said, keeping my voice steady. "He's pushing you to sign over Caretaker to a shell company tied to Prescott Ventures." Claire Prescott's name came up. Nathan paused, his eyes narrowing. "You know her?" I swallowed. "My ex-fiancé left me for her." His gaze held mine, processing. "Ethan Caldwell," he said, not a question. I nodded. "You know him?" "Heard the name through Marcus," he said, rolling back from the bars. "You're saying my partner and your ex are, what? Conspiring?" I took a breath. "I'm saying it's too convenient. Prescott Ventures wants your company, and Claire's connected to Ethan. Maybe they picked me because I'm no one to them." He went quiet, his face unreadable. I braced for dismissal, expecting him to brush it off as paranoia. Instead, he said, "I'll look at the documents." That was it. No trust, no plan, just a void where I'd hoped for something more. I left the gym, my chest tight. Had I misread everything? Was I chasing ghosts from my own heartbreak? I paced my room that night, doubt creeping in. What if I was wrong, seeing betrayal where there was none? Or worse, what if I was right and Nathan didn't believe me? The stakes felt bigger than my broken heart now, like I'd stumbled into a game I wasn't supposed to play. The next morning, Nathan knocked on my door, something he'd never done. I opened it to find him in his wheelchair, a folder in his lap, his eyes sharp with something new. "You were right," he said, voice low. "Prescott Ventures isn't investing. The documents transfer control to a shell company Marcus set up 2 months ago, buried in layers." My breath caught. "They're stealing Caretaker." He nodded, handing me the folder. "I need your help to stop them." For days, we worked in secret, late into the night at the oak table in his study. Nathan pored over contracts, emails, bank records, his hands shaking from exhaustion, but his focus razor-sharp. I organized evidence, cross-referenced names, and listened as he laid bare his regrets. Marcus was there when I coded my first app, he said one night, voice heavy. I trusted him to speak for me when I couldn't walk. I met his eyes. "You trusted your gut eventually. That's what matters." We planned a boardroom ambush. Nathan contacted his lawyer, gathering proof of Marcus's betrayal. He even sent Marcus a decoy email, thanking him for handling things. The day before the meeting, Nathan practiced walking with a cane 10 steps, then 15, each one a defiance of his pain. "I want them to see me," he said, jaw set. "Not the chair." The boardroom was in Caretaker's downtown Seattle office, all glass and steel, like Nathan's mansion. We arrived early. Nathan stepped slow but steady beside me. Heads turned as we entered, whispers rippling through the suits. Marcus sat at the table's head, Olivia Prescott beside him in a sleek blazer, and there, smaller than I remembered, was Ethan, his polished charm faded. Nathan didn't hesitate. He walked to the head of the table, cane clicking, and said, "This meeting is mine." He laid out the evidence, forged clauses, hidden accounts, Marcus's plan to hand Caretaker to Prescott Ventures. Olivia's face stayed cold, but Marcus paled. "You can't prove intent," he stammered. "I don't need to," Nathan said. "Breach of duty's enough." The board voted unanimously to remove Marcus and void the contracts. Ethan wouldn't meet my eyes. As Olivia stormed out, Nathan turned to me. "You're the reason I'm standing here," he said. My heart swelled, not just for him, but for the strength I'd found in myself. The weeks after the boardroom felt like waking up. Nathan's mansion, once a cold fortress, began to breathe. We opened windows, letting Seattle's crisp air sweep through the halls. The garden, neglected and wild, bloomed under new care. Nathan still limped, his cane a constant companion, but the bitterness that once shadowed him was fading. So was mine. I stopped replaying Ethan's voice, stopped mourning the wedding that never was. I started running again, short loops on the trail behind the house, feeling my lungs burn and my heart lighten. I laughed without guilt, something I hadn't done since I was a kid in foster care, chasing moments of joy between uncertainties. Nathan insisted on cooking once a week, a ritual that was more chaos than cuisine. He'd curse at the stove, burning rice or mangling a sauce, while I perched on the kitchen island, teasing him. One night, he slid a plate of questionable pasta my way and said, "If this poisons you, I'm not liable." I grinned. "You'll inherit my hospital badge in my will." He paused, his green eyes steady. "Actually, no." I looked up confused. "I put Caretaker in a trust," he said softly. "You're in it." I blinked. "What?" He leaned closer. "I'm not giving you the company, Sarah, but you helped me build something better than I ever did alone. I want you in whatever's next." My chest tightened, not with fear, but with something warm, like coming home. He pulled out a small box, a simple gold ring with a single emerald inside. "I'm not asking for forever yet," he said. "I'm still figuring out who I am, and I know you didn't sign up for this. But will you consider walking this with me? Not to save me, but because you make me remember who I can be." I didn't cry, though I thought I might. Instead, I felt steady, like I'd found solid ground after years of shifting sand. I took the ring, slid it on, and smiled. "I'm not saying yes," I said, "but I'm not saying no." He laughed, a sound so full it filled the room. We didn't rush. No grand gestures, just quiet mornings, shared coffee, and small victories. Nathan walked a mile unaided by spring. I passed my certification to start a private practice. We hired staff, and the mansion became ours, not his. Ethan texted once, "A week, you okay?" I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That heartbreak had led me here, to a life I hadn't dared dream of. On Nathan's birthday, we drove to the Washington coast. He walked beside me on the beach, sand crunching under his boots, the wind sharp against our faces. He looked at the ocean and asked, "Think we'll ever be who we were before?" I shook my head. "I hope not. Who we are now is better." He took my hand, and we stood there, the waves roaring, our pasts fading like footprints in the tide. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through heartbreak, betrayal, and a fight to reclaim what's mine. If my story stirred something in you, hit that subscribe button and join us, where every step forward is a story of grit, heart, and new beginnings. Keep chasing your own truth, and I'll meet you on the path ahead.